It is time for our chart of the day. Tax season is upon us, and we're taking a look at tax debt. 18.6 million individual taxpayers owed the IRS $316 billion in overdue taxes at the end of 2022. But the breakdown varied, with about 5 million taxpayers owing under $1,000 to the IRS and almost 6.3 million owing between $1,000 and $5,000. Rachelle, moral of the story is pay your taxes. But this is an interesting story out of the Wall Street Journal today, which points to some people who haven't paid since 2013, those who maybe got caught up during the pandemic, sort of still trying to clear the pipeline. But an important reminder here in the piece, which is something we've talked about before, the Inflation Reduction Act, adding for more IRS officers here, really going after, at least in the story, high wealth individuals, high income, high wealth individuals. I don't know. I am not a person who starts my taxes early, but I do make sure to pay it if I owe.
I mean, I usually would put mine in at about February, because sometimes there are some sort of last minute changes. Like I know when it comes to like the child tax credit that they were still sort of working out. And I saw one of an article saying, you know, don't pay your taxes too early in case there are a few of these things still lingering. But yes, they did highlight in the article that a lot of these IRS collection efforts were actually paused during the pandemic, and they didn't have the manpower to work through it. So I think people sort of breathed a sigh of relief and thought, oh, maybe I'm doing all right. But they're like, no, the tax man cometh. We're up and running. And so perhaps expect a smaller refund this year as well. And of course, you know, you don't just have to wait for some scary letter to come in the mail. You can always negotiate with the IRS, or once you get sort of check in on the IRS website, try and pay it up early and, you know, to at least take some of that stress off. But, you know, difficult times. Now, if you haven't paid since 2013, I mean, that's a different story. But at least for the recent ones,
I think a psychological game people play, right?
Yes.
If I don't deal with it, it'll go away. And that seems to be what is playing out, at least according to this piece. My question to you, Rachelle, is do you do your own taxes or do you get an accountant?
So I do mine through one of the digital tax services, because I used to go sort of in person, like old school accountant, and then they messed me up one year, and then I was like, oh, I can't do this again. At least with a lot of the newer ones, there's, you know, a lot more like legal protection in case you get audited. And it's also easier to transfer if you go from sort of one system to another. There's a lot more consistency there. What about you?
You are a lot more organized than I am. I just hand off all my paperwork to my accountant, and I sign off on everything that's due at the end.
Well, I mean, it seems to be working out, so that can't be too bad.